This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. And what we're doing today is we are doing an emergency replacement of a battery terminal. On this Ford Ranger, which is a 2011, the last one they made, they went to a copper battery connector here. And over the past decade, it is corroded in two. Consequently, I made a replacement. And this consists of 4 strands of copper wire, and we dipped it in molten lead so we get a good connection to the battery post. And now we're proceeding to clean up this ratty, cheap, blah 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 connector here and tie them all together so at least I can make it into town and hopefully find a better replacement. It's 100 degrees outdoors right now and I am melting lead. Well, ordinarily I would not do this, but we have an emergency situation in the sense that I must make a new battery terminal. I have a 1911 Ford Ranger, and as I have described in previous videos, they have copper connections on their battery terminals, which are absolutely miserable and always were. Well, my truck now has one that has completely corroded away, so it does not grass the terminal anymore. I'm 8 miles from town, so I can't get an easy replacement unless I have one delivered at considerable expense. And so consequently, I'm trying to improvise one that I can connect up and get my truck going and at least get it to town. I do have some resources. One is copper wire, and this is normal gauge wire such as one would use to run 110 in a house. Well, this is too thin a wire by itself to carry that much voltage and amperage. Consequently, I've taken 4 of them, stripped the insulation off, bent them around to fit the terminal, but that gives too loose a fit. I thought about soldering them together, but soldering can work if you're very delicate about it and have a quick hand and eye, and I don't anymore. So consequently, what I am doing is I have taken the copper wire, I've twisted it around a terminal, and I'm going to dip it in lead so we have a continuous contact with the post. And we'll leave it hollow and we'll leave it a little undersized so that when I affix it to the post with hopefully relatively gentle taps, it will make a good contact, and then I can connect the other wires to the remains of the copper terminal that is now disconnected. And hopefully that will enable me to start the vehicle. We have one more object to add to the pot. And since I'm going to heat lead, I might as well melt it. And that is this much abused, apparently homemade lead hammer. This was used in an industrial setting, and then it was found and abused by a couple of kids who beat it like this. And what it was used for was for driving pins and things like railroad car connections. So that was its original use. Well, I'm not running any railroad car, so I really don't need it for that. But I will salvage the lead. So we will see how much we can get and just sit there and let it melt away. And take a close eye out of it because it looks like it would fall over in just a heartbeat. We are getting some action on the melting of the hammer, a little bit. So it is now in a position where it's more nearly at rest. So I don't have to worry about it falling over and collapsing the pot. Now this is the copper wire. Now there are 4 strands here. I've stripped all the insulation off, and then where you see the loop, which I molded around the terminal of the battery, I'm going to dip progressively in the lead until we get a solid ring of lead and copper around it. And then we'll put insulation on it and use these looser ends right at my fingertips to actually attach to the remains of the copper terminal that will connect it to the rest of the truck. Alright, that's enough lead. So we're going to flux right now and skim off this dross. Okay, put glove back on like I should have, be more comfortable, and we'll start our dipping. The idea is to get lead on the copper. Now that the wire is cooling and the lead is too, we're getting more and more buildup, which is exactly what's desired. We put the piece on our belt sander and faced off the bottom so it's more nearly flat. So it'll rest better and bite better on the battery. Now that we have the outside dressed flat, at least in this plane, this is a little bit undersized, so I'm going to run it through the inside just to get everything trued up. Well, this is a close-up of the connector. Before I took it off and bent it up, this of course went around the terminal here. Now what I'm going to do is cut this portion off, flatten this out as much as I can, take my copper wires, put them through here, bend them back so they get more contact with the copper, and also silver solder them in place. I'm going to use a Dremel tool to rough up these surfaces as much as possible so that we get a good bond. That. now we're going to start bending and crimping down. I have the wires bent, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut them off about here. They're obviously too long, and then proceed to silver solder through here and down. Well, I had the Dremel tool. As you see, I've cut this tab off here that was just sticking up, and it's not going to do any good to me, so I might as well get rid of it. At least it'd make electrical contact with the hood. Well, we now have a glob of solder all over that connection, so hopefully when it cools that will hold. Using a vice grip and a drill and a cone-shaped bit of abrasive, we have managed to get a hole. It looks like it might about fit. Well, it is going on the post, but it still needs just a little more. Not quite there yet. Whatever is going to happen, that is not coming off that post until I physically take it off. So I don't have to worry about it rattling off as I go down the road.